Hello, everybody. I'm George from Ireland. Well, I'm talking about Chagos, chaos, referring to the Chagos Islands in the Indian Ocean. So, several months ago, His Britannic Majesty's government announced they were giving the islands to Mauritius. Now, they've been considered part of Mauritius when it was a British colony for a while, but when Mauritius was granted independence in the 60s, part of the deal was that the Chagos Islands be separated, would still be British sovereign territory, the Indian Ocean territory. And then in the late 60s, the United Kingdom under Harold Wilson, a Labour Prime Minister, allowed the US to use Diego Garcia, one of the eight islands, as a base. And that was vital because it gave the US dominance of much of the Indian Ocean. But anyway, the last Conservative government had thought about giving away the Chagos Islands. Mauritius has twice been paid for the Chagos Islands. I do feel very sorry for the Chagosians, the people who live there, who were all unceremoniously deported from their homeland in the late 60s. Now, that's an injustice. I've been aware of this since at least the year 2002. And God, it'll come to me. John, someone, that Australian journalist who died a couple of years ago, he brought this to public attention. But anyway, I suppose of decolonization, the United Kingdom said, well, we have to give the Chagos Islands to Mauritius because we might lose a case in the International Court of Justice. Might not lose a case. And you can see that on far more serious matters, countries lose cases and then don't do anything about it, don't change. There is no enforcement mechanism. So international law, hey? Well, I would seldom be an advocate of breaking the law, very seldom. But Lord Hermer is the Attorney General, a chum of Starmer, legalistic, as people say. He believes that law should replace politics, that the people should really have no rights, have no say in how things are done. Judges should decide everything. That's what he's trying to sort out. I mean, if Mauritius considers it unacceptable for the United Kingdom to keep the Chagos Islands, don't accept the money. You've ratified the deal repeatedly. But anyway, so the idea was the United Kingdom would transfer sovereignty to Mauritius in return. Mauritius gave the United Kingdom a 99-year lease over Diego Garcia, which would allow the United States to also use the base. Now, Starmer's been roundly coruscated for this in the House of Commons by the Conservative Unionist Party, not his own party for once. I know it's hard to believe. There are a few people who like Starmer. All right. So the US government agreed to this several months ago. And then just yesterday, Donald Trump publicly inveighed against it, saying it's an act of great stupidity. Well, it's definitely true of that one. And by the UK, it would be paying Mauritius for this, paying the Mauritius for what the United Kingdom already owns. Okay. And he said that it would break a treaty that the UK signed with the United States and so forth. So now the UK is furiously backpedaled. Wow. So the Conservative Party is obviously delighted to hear what Trump is saying. But should this agreement have been signed with Mauritius in the first place? I think not. But it having been signed, should the United Kingdom reverse it? Because it's not actually been passed by Parliament, which is why the UK can still get out of it. The handover is still not gone ahead. Now here we have the United Kingdom taking orders from Uncle Sam. The United States, you agreed with it. If you change your mind now, I mean, you normally say that's too late. And then you see that does the United Kingdom look foolish? It's a humiliation to be bossed around by Washington, D.C. But you know the way Trump goes, if he didn't like Mauritius having these islands, he'd just say, we're annexing it. That's it. We need it for our national security. Wow. Other people's rights don't count. They've got no rights. You know, might is right, according to him. So he's performed this volte-face on Truth Social. So you never know who you are with Trump. Trump's so much for the art of the deal, difficult to make a deal when he will renege on the deal. He's betrayed people so much. And there's that book. Tony Schwartz wrote The Art of the Deal for him. And Tony Schwartz was allowed to listen on Trump's phone calls to help him write that book way back in the 1980s, and found how Trump was just lying through his teeth time and again to do business deals. And he'd meet people say that Trump tricked me and show documents which are probative that Trump had deceived them. This is fraud. And remember Trump's old Fifth Avenue principle? I could shoot someone dead on broad daylight in Fifth Avenue and get off scot-free. And it's happened. That is how he's lived his life. So here we go. Should the United Kingdom change its mind? Well, I suppose it should, but I think it's making the right decision, but for the wrong reasons. So anyway, Mauritius has managed to get most African countries to take their position on this one, but you know that's not going to make any difference. So the United States has had military bases there since the 1970s. That was that 1996 treaty which perpetuated British sovereignty over the archipelago and so forth. So it was going to the House of Lords. So actually, the Conservatives may get what they want. Yeah. And Mrs. Badenoch, the leader of the Conservative Party, said it might even be illegal. And the UK is going to be paying £35 billion over the next century. Another point is Mauritius has got very cordial relations with China. Now, I don't dispute Mauritius's right to determine its own foreign policy, to form a military alliance with China if they want it. But the People's Republic of China, everybody knows, is hostile to the United Kingdom. And so, that's why they have set up these sort of illegal police stations. They're harassing British citizens in the UK who happen to be ethnically Chinese, who've advocated for human rights in China, and so on. There's large scale espionage, stealing technology. And okay, presumably the UK spies on China. I mean, I don't blame the Chinese for spying on the United Kingdom. Many countries spy on each other. But the Chinese may well be allowed a military base on one of the other islands very close. They can therefore easily spy on what's going on in Diego Garcia. What do you think? Should Starmer change his mind? Was it the right decision in the first instance? Was it wrong of Trump to say this? I mean, shouldn't he have said it the first time, in which case the deal wouldn't go ahead? And one of the defenses for this agreement to hand the islands to Mauritius was, well, the United States has approved, and they had signed off on it. Another thing is the Chagosians, once they were removed from their homeland, they mostly end up in Mauritius. Some live in the United Kingdom, particularly I think it's Crawley. And they didn't get adequately compensated way back in about 2002. They were finally going to be allowed to go back for a few hours to their ancestral island to visit the graves of their forebears. And the last minute, that was cancelled, which was, I mean, how could that possibly be a risk to US national security? If these specially vetted people, if you check they've got no weapons or no whatever spying equipment on them, to go and closely supervise visit a graveyard, how could that possibly impair national security? It was just preposterous. It was just beyond paranoid. So, and the Chagosians, what do they want for anti-colonialism, national self-determination? Chagos Islands, you want to be part of Mauritius or not, or independent, or the British Indian Ocean Territory? Nobody's ever asked them. They've not had a referendum on this, and they don't actually even live in the Chagos Islands. Now, it's partly problematic because then they're citizens of other countries, of Mauritius or the United Kingdom or other countries. Or another thing is, what if you're half Chagosian? Your mother was born there and your father's from somewhere else. Are you a Chagosian or not? Do you get a vote? What if you're a quarter Chagosian? Your grandfather came from there. The other three grandparents from somewhere else. Do you get to vote on this or not? And so on. So it's problematic. What do you think should happen? Okay. So yet another U-turn by what's his name, Sir Keir Starmer. I remember they say when Theresa May was Prime Minister, she had a very, very high threshold for humiliation. I cannot see him leading Labour into the next general election, which he's going to do, which will be 2028 or 2029. How on earth can he survive much longer? About which more later. Well, make sure you subscribe on Patreon, PayPal, georgecallan790@gmail.com. Goodbye.